my name is Sabrina Jaszi, and I'm one of the editors together with Anna Selimovic of Turkoslavia Journal. And now, as promised, I'm going to be reading to you from a translation that Anna and I did together of the Uzbekistani author Suhbat Aflatuni. And Aflatuni, which is the pen name of Yevgeny Abdullayev, is a multi-talented writer, poet, scholar, translator from Uzbek into Russian. And he's one of the founders of the Tashkent School, which was a movement of mostly Central Asian writers after the Soviet period who worked in Russian, but also asserted poetic difference in that language from Russian culture. I'm going to be reading from a story called The Mistle Thrush, which was published in issue 3 of Turkoslavia Journal, in Russian Deryaba. This is a contemporary story set actually beginning in the Civil War period, so in the early 20th century, first decades of the 20th century, and then spanning most of the Soviet period. It follows the life from basically birth until death of a Cossack mercenary soldier named Vasily, and it centers around his unlikely relationship with a Jewish woman named Sarka, who he meets while perpetrating the very anti-Semitic violent pogroms in the shtetls of the Russian Empire. So while raiding one of these Jewish shtetls, he assaults Sarka and then goes on his way. But as chance has it, he is led back to Sarka after getting injured and separated from his band of fighters. The two end up getting married and moving many times, including after World War II to Tashkent, and then finally they emigrate to Israel. And this is really a globe-trotting story that goes from Belarus to Russia to Tashkent to finally Israel, as I said, and incorporates a lot of interesting lexicon along the way. So I will start out in the middle of this story, picking up after Vasily has left his life as a mercenary fighter and begins to settle down with Sarka. And I will read a few sentences in the original Russian and then a longer excerpt from the translation by Anna and me. Два дня лесами шел. Питался редкой ягодой, пробовал грызть кору и не смог. И выполз к тому самому местечку. Смерти он не боялся, только бы пожевать чего перед тем, как прикончить. Но в местечке пусто было, ушли из него люди и жизнь. Жидовка его узнала и собралась кричать. Василий зажал ей рот и захрипел в ухо. «Молчи, будешь моей жинкой?» Это он добавил неожиданно не только для нее, она аж застыла, но и для себя. Такого плана в голове не было. И он тоже застыл, а потом, разжав ладонь и освободив ей рот, она так и стояла и дышала. Впился в него сухими губами. И она, хромоножка, на его ласку ответила. Так горячо, что почернела в глазах, как тогда. Вздохнув, поволокла его на себе. Он уткнулся носом в его плечо. «Эй, зовут тебя как?» — спросил Толка. For 2 days he walked through the woods, subsisting on the occasional berry and trying, but failing, to eat bark. Then he emerged, crawling out at the same shtetl. Death didn't scare him so long as he had something in his stomach, but the shtetl was empty, barren of people and life. The Jewish woman recognized him and was about to scream. Vasily clamped his hand over her mouth and wheezed in her ear. "Quiet. Will you be my wife?" he said, speaking this last word in Ukrainian. It was unexpected, and not only to her, she froze, but to him. He had no such plan in mind. He froze too, then he unclamped his hand, freed her mouth. She just stood there, breathing, and he pressed his dry lips to hers. She, the cripple, responded to his tenderness, so hotly that he saw black, as before. Sighing, she pulled him to her. He buried his nose in her shoulder. "Hey, what do they call you?" was all he said. Sarka turned out to be bad-tempered and nagging, like a Cossack woman, but even worse. Vasily lay sick with a fever, listening to Sarka spin her long rants. "A Russian husband," Sarka rasped, mixing Russian and Ukrainian, "should be healthy, strong, like a trotter. How'd I get stuck with such a weakling, huh?" "I'll get better, and strangle you, bitch," Vasily would answer from where he was lying on the stove. "Oh no, I'm shaking. Here, drink this." Vasily obediently drank. "What did you put in the water?" he asked. "What could I have put in it? Dust? The house is empty. Other people have real husbands. Their houses have this and that, but all he can do is get sick." "Liar," Vasily thought, wiping away the sweat that followed the drink. "She poisoned me or spat in it, the witch." Vasily got better, but he didn't strangle his wife. He beat her once, but not badly, just so she'd know. In 26, Vasily went to work in the city, but quickly grew exhausted and fell ill. As soon as he got better, he brought Sarka, already with a belly, carrying their second. In all, she bore him 3. The first, Ignat, took after Vasily and died in childhood. The other 2 were little dark things who, like Sarka, clung tightly to this life. Mark and Rima. It was Sarka who came up with the names. Vasily waved it off. He was indifferent to the children anyway. He felt cramped living in town. The hordes of people running around made him nauseous. He quickly tired of his job, slammed the door, and left. But Sarka wouldn't let him rest and pushed him, circling like a wasp, driving him to find work. She herself learned to sew and became a dressmaker. She was visited by women as noisy as herself. Fabric scraps littered their room and buttons floated in the soup. From the birth, Sarka's hips widened and she became energetic. Everything stirred and crackled around her, but little got done. She cooked soups, cloudy as soapy water, that she referred to as consommé. She tormented Vasily, but at night lay her head on his stomach and cried. She smelled of kerosene, kitchen ash, and the soap she used to mark fabric. But with the years, he stopped noticing the smells, stopped being irritated or pleased by them. The few women he saw occasionally on and off quickly lost steam beneath him and turned away, showing him their damp backs and the welts from their brustgolters. He never learned this urban word and confused it with bartender, which even after years of city life he pronounced bath tender, or some other way that made the women quietly choke with laughter. They didn't dare laugh openly, afraid of his dark stare. But Sarka wasn't like that. She had her ways. She knew when to rant and when to shut up and when to nestle up to him, disappear under him, comfort him. And he held on to her tooth and nail as though scared to be all alone with this world, with these people and these stupid women who were incapable of understanding anything. Alone with his hatred, which, if it could spill from his eyes, would burn the whole world like acid. He hated Sarka too, but differently from the weight of his love. And all her relatives who would take over their room and trestle bed and make him listen to long conversations in their language. His own distant relatives came through a few times too, and that was even worse. Gradually he got used to Sarka's loudmouth relatives, and to the other swarthy people who flitted about more and more, and his anger toward them became faint and familiar, like the pain of a wound brought on by weather. The kids went to school, and the evenings showed him their good grades. In some things he actually came to love. He loved the shooting gallery in the park where people lined up for a turn, but he, an experienced shooter, was allowed to go first. He loved the Black Sea, where he brought the children a few times for their health. He loved its desolate beaches and the glistening corpses of jellyfish. Loved the mistle thrush that lived on their windowsill in a cramped cage. He himself had gone out for it, a fallen bird, and settled it there, to the children's delight and Sarka's dissatisfaction. He fed it, cleaned its cage, and listened to its merry sounds. They got hold of one more room when conveniently their neighbor in the communal apartment was thrown in prison. Life crept creakingly along. Occasionally, though, always at night, something icy and incomprehensible rolled over him, and he remembered the Civil War and those he'd killed. He didn't fear the dead, but among the living someone might meet and recognize him, and he broke into a cold sweat, wheezed, and woke Sarka. And she understood everything and merely whispered, "Not now." He looked at the prostrate Sarka, glowing in the darkness, and thought even she might betray him, sell him out, or poison him. But he knew she wouldn't, and he buried himself in her, ashamed of this dark happiness and weakness.